Okay, so we are going to be looking at lesson 16, and we'll talk a little bit about lesson 17. Oh, there's lesson 17. Lesson 17 doesn't have a lot in it, so we'll probably spend, plenty of time discussing these 60 questions. Yes, 40 and 20 is 60. Please don't be too shy to shout out if I say the wrong number, like I did the last time. I love that if you watch the video, it's just like super obvious. I'm like 12 plus 4 makes 37. And no one says anything. Anyway, okay, so we have 60, we have 6 people, that's 10 each. So I guess we'll do them in chunks of 5. That way it kind of evens out nicely. If you don't want to read, throw something in the chat real quick. I'll do my best not to read it aloud to the entire group, as I have a bad habit of doing. And yeah, but otherwise we'll just do it this way. And I have Aurelio first on the list. How do you feel?
Okay, sounds good. Let's go. First sentence, hoine and temine, some of this kind.
Yeah, good. So the word hoine, does that look like any other word that you've ever seen before?
Looks a little bit like the plural indefinite article, like hen.
Yeah, so what do you think is happening there?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, it could be like it could be a full form maybe that the other one is derived from, but I really don't know.
Yeah, that's your intuition is correct. So this is the full form of the word. If it has its own stress and it's kind of standing out by itself, the word is actually hoine. And then what happens when it gets prefixed is it loses its independent stress, and that process of losing stress, I guess I shouldn't have deleted it right then because this is exactly what I'm talking about. That process of losing stress is where you get the the vowels get kind of squished, and I think that's that's not like an official linguistic term or anything, but it's kind of a good way to comprehend it. Coptic has like big puffy vowels and little squished vowels, and the epsilon tends to be the squished version of these bigger, stronger vowels like O's, omicrons, omegas, and those kind of things. And we've seen other examples like that. We've seen words like pofpe, it is his, where we would say like, pefiot, his father, where this pof word, the one belonging to him, when it's used as a prefix, gets squished and it just has an epsilon. So that's a really common kind of general feature of how the Coptic language, how its phonology works.
Yep, makes sense. Probably helped along by very strong main stress, or how do I say that? The ones that are fully pronounced, they have a strong stress on them.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Okay, a question in the chat, which I will get to later. We've got a good question in the chat, but it doesn't pertain directly to this, so I'll come back to that. And Aurelio, do you want to keep going with some of these?
Sure. So number 2, so and so, 6 sheep.
Yep.
Then Teref, all the money.
Yeah.
Remember that money is masculine here. Let's see.
That's where you get the teref. I think this is probably from our action movie script. I feel like it could fit in really nicely. Yeah.
Wa in Chalewe, one of the crippled people or one of the lame.
Yeah, exactly. One
2
of
ends
them.
there because the second one is to nominalize or turn make sure say it again, make clear that Chalewe is a substantive, I guess.
Right, exactly. So it's a noun. It could be used as an adjective, it could be used as a noun, but the presence of the article really gives it to us as a noun. And there are cases in Coptic where you'll find articles where they have almost none of the definite component to them. Like they don't. So in theory, what the definite article does is, instead of saying like a house, if I say the house, we both know which house it is, and I'm identifying Like I'm acknowledging the fact that we both know which one I'm talking about. So that's kind of where the definiteness, it's a specific one. And that's why I say there are cases in Coptic sentences where there's a definite article and it has almost no definiteness at all. It's because like, I don't know who these people who are handicapped are. You don't know who they are. And it's just saying one of this group of those people. And all it really does is tell us that it's a group of plural nouns without actually defining anything.
I like that in English too, huh? When you say the blind or the hard of hearing, you're not talking about specific people, but except for, you know, that demographic.
Yeah, you're just kind of like creating a group on the fly rather than referring to one that is known to both of us. I think that's a problem. That's probably a function of articles generally. If I were to look at like, you know, what does general linguistics say definite articles are for? I'm guessing that's probably a thing that they're for. But then so far in this class, we've seen them mostly being used in the most straightforward way, where it's like, there are some sheep. We know which sheep they are. Here they are, the sheep. Those ones, the ones that we both know about. And that doesn't have to be the case. So your Aurelio, your observation that this second N is kind of substantivizing this, it's making it into a noun, and it's specifically marking it as plural, which would be necessary if the word itself didn't have this unique plural form, which is usually the case. Yeah, it's all true. It's doing all those things.
All right, let's do the last one. Wash emine eneo. What kind of glory?
What kind of glory? Yeah. This is one of those exercise sentences where I don't know what it means. Like you're definitely correct. But yeah, okay, good job. Christian, do you want to do 5?
Sure. All right, number 6. Sashif and Ho. That means in 7 days, right?
Good.
7. Teushe teres.
Wait. 6. I want to hang on. I want to hang on to 6 for a minute because it could mean in 7 days.
Or the 7 days.
It could. Yeah, there we go. Okay. It could also mean the 7 days.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just making sure on that.
And it also mean for 7 days.
Yes. Yeah. So if it was expressing duration of time, like we're going to stay in the place in Sashf and Ho, that would be the way to say that also for 7 days.
Yeah, actually, that makes sense. How would you say in 7 days? I feel like that would be a different expression. Like if you're saying after 7 days, would it be like that? And sa and Sashif and Ho.
I think it would probably be the same, honestly. But hold on.
Because in English we have the convenience of saying in, but I think in a lot of languages actually emphasize the after 7 days part.
Yeah, I think this is one of those cases where we need a lot more stuff from the book. Like the book hasn't given us enough stuff because the way you express a lot of these kind of things in Coptic is it's not just with the construction itself, but it's also with the all the things that are appended to it on either side. So like, I was trying to explain this the other day. Somebody asked me, how do you say already in Coptic? And I was like, well, okay, so there is the word ade that means already, but it's a Greek loan word. Really, the way you say already in Coptic is you don't. You invert it and you put it on the other clause. So like, they had already left when we arrived. In Coptic, the most natural way to say that in Coptic is we arrived, they already having left. No. It's now I've gotten myself confused, but it
I think I know what you mean. It is the I forget.
The circumstantial.
Plus, yeah, and then plus that perfective or whatever, the ea.
Yeah.
Or,
There's the a the it's like the circumstantial and the perfective together, and there's also the there's the empate form, which we haven't learned yet, which is like not yet having done something, and it's actually just the negative perfect, and that's used a lot of times in these constructions where English would do it in the opposite direction. So let me see if I can quickly come up with an example. There was a great one when so Haleli Harel is teaching this amazing immersive style Coptic course at Police Institute in Jerusalem, and
yeah,
she was working on it.
First semester, I took it.
You took it, yeah. How was it?
It was great. It was you could tell they were still trying to get a hold on the whole online situation because her microphone wasn't that great, and she, you know, without pictures or without being able to demonstrate visually that well, she had to like grab figures and be like, but then it's still not that like obvious what they're doing. But it was fun. I mean, she did practice speaking, giving commands. We stood up and walked around, and then unfortunately the last few weeks I couldn't attend anymore because of work. But I still got to see the slides, and it was very interactive, a lot of fun. And so, yeah, less discussing of like etymologies and grammar as much, and more just like how you would learn a modern language these days. You know, just speaking. It's like, what is that? How many eyes does that alien have? That alien has 5 eyes. You know.
I love that. That's totally a real example from that class, for sure.
Yeah, it is. It's really fun.
It's so good. So when she and I were like just before COVID, when people could actually go places and sit down next to each other in cafes and look at things, she was showing me the course that she was working on. I was super excited about it, and we were looking at an example like that, and we were trying to figure it out. And it was one of these cases where it was like I arrived before him, but the actual Coptic examples I found that paralleled that were like, I arrived, he not having yet arrived, or something. Like the way you construct it is just totally different. And it's very often the case that you take the way we would say it in English and the way that one clause is sort of modified to show its relationship in time, and you actually just invert that. So if it's after on one clause in English, it ends up becoming before, and it goes on the other clause in Coptic. So finding things like that is always kind of fun. It's really easy to understand. But then when you're actually trying to construct, you have to think very carefully about it, because you don't necessarily notice the absence of a way of saying like before. You know, there is a way to say before in Coptic, but it just does it differently. So
until you try to say something yourself, you don't realize what you're missing. But also, I think the more it's like with any language learning, the more input you get through reading and reading and reading. That's what I've heard in some courses. It's like the more you get a feel for what sounds natural. I mean, it really helps in this course, and also in our reading class. Like after having read those texts, I can be like, okay, well, I get a feeling for what this means, or how you would say that. You know.
Yeah.
Practice makes perfect, I guess.
That's what that with those readings, that like the New Testament and a little bit of Genesis. I've only done Genesis thus far, but I want to do all of the Torah books in the Coptic versions with the English and Hebrew translations, because that's super useful for getting that kind of feel. So all of this is in reference to Dante's question of how would you say after 7 days? Right now, I'm going to answer, I don't know. I think that's the only truly correct answer I can give you. And I'm going to say, I'm going to look it up and try to come back to you with a good answer with evidence and everything, so I can support what I'm saying. Because I think you can say it this way. I think Coptic is loosey-goosey enough with descriptions of time that you actually could just say like for 7 days to mean in 7 days, but I'm going to look for specific examples and just see what they have.
Going just looking at my Anki sentence deck from Landon sentences, I type in after and I get a bunch of sentences like, you know, afterwards or after these things or after our flight, you know, and it's always minsa or nsa. And then you substantivize whatever you're talking about. So after his death would be minsa pifmu, which just means after, I mean, after, yeah. You would in English probably say after he died, but in Coptic you just say after his death.
Are there any of those Minensaw sentences with like duration of time?
Afterwards, they found after these things.
I think you might be able to say like after these 7 days they did such and such. That feels vaguely familiar to me.
I think that's probably something right. I mean, yeah, I can't find.
I should be able to find one in the New Testament pretty quickly because it is a biographical narrative. Things like this are usually pretty easy to come across. So I'll just go look through that. Oh, you got one. What you got?
Yeah, just for the mute. After 6 days, Jesus taketh Peter, etc. Men en sa so de en ho, af G en G Jesus. So men en sa so de en ho.
Perfect.
Yeah.
There we have it.
So it's really men and sa, and then followed by the numeral, at least in this example.
Sweet.
Something like this, Aurelio?
Hang on, I have to switch back window. Yep.
Yeah,
Pretty
okay.
much just with superlineal strokes, but yes. Otherwise the same.
Yeah, I'm so lazy about those.
Sweet. That took us about
Sweet.
15 minutes to figure out.
But we got it. We got there.
All right.
Okay. So,
Okay,
yeah.
I'll go on to number 7 then. Teushe teres, the whole night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, fill in your own context there.
Yeah. Number 8, huvnim intai shopu. Everything that I received or got.
Yeah. Yeah. Or bought, but yeah.
Yeah.
Everything I bought. Everything I got.
Yeah, everything I got. Usefe inte mine, a sword of this kind, or this kind of sword. And then netme teru inte Syria, all the villages of Syria.
Yeah. Nice. What's weird about this?
Well, the singular would be petime or petime.
Yeah.
And it looks like they just shortened the e out of it to make it plural. Netme, I think because of the ed that comes before it.
Yeah, I think
I'm
not
sure.
really sure what exactly happened there. I'd be willing to bet that the stress is here, netme.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking what happened is on the singular, you probably got the sort of standard morphology, which then gets lost. So it's really confusing, right? Because you put an oo sound on the end of the word to make it plural. In all, historically in previous stages of Egyptian, but then that final oo gets dropped. So all you get left in Coptic is that the stress is moved somehow or something. So I'm guessing that this vowel, this T, let's write it like that so we can actually see what we're talking about. I'm guessing this T lost its stress and got reduced to a schwa. And then because it was just a schwa, you now have basically 2 consonants together. So you have to put this epenthetic E at the beginning. That's just my hypothesizing about why it looks strange like that.
That's plausible.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Christian. Claudio, do you want to do 5?
Yes. And number 11. Empemtoebol parchireus, in the presence of the high priest.
Yes.
Number 12. Ence en unoch en sabe, and like a great and wise man.
Yeah, like a great and a wise man, in the manner of a great wise man. Yeah, that's good. Like a great and wise man. It's good. That's a good answer.
Yes. Number 13. Ahat teref. All my money.
All my money. Yeah. Why F? Why TED-F?
Ese, again, the money.
Yeah. It repeats the gender of the noun that comes before it. So yeah, hot is masculine, so TED-F.
Number 14. Romenim en tafnau ero. All the men he saw, but I'm not sure.
What are you not sure about?
Does it make sense?
Your translation makes sense and it's correct.
But could it be another? Could it be another translation?
Could it be like every man that he saw, because the Roma has no article?
Yeah. So yeah, it could be. It could actually go two ways. Although I think the way that Claudio translated is actually the most sensible. Every man that he saw to them. You know, being overly literal about it. Every man that he saw them. It could also be each man who saw them. So Romenim could be singular, and it is technically singular in grammatical terms. So the entaf now could actually, this F could be the Rome, like each man whom he saw, and then the them are just some unknown they that haven't been mentioned in this sentence until now. So each man who saw them is one translation, or every man that he saw is another translation. I like the every man that he saw, just because. So you can use the plural pronoun to refer to collectives and things like that. So obviously every man is going to be more than one person. So there's nothing like at all unusual about the fact that this is grammatically singular and this is grammatically plural. That doesn't actually cause any kind of problem. And I just feel like that's a sentence you're more likely to say. Although, okay, let's put scenarios. Scenarios always really help me to like grok the actual meaning of the ancient language. So let's say we have like 10 watchmen on the wall and there are enemy forces coming, and we're going to give a medal to every man who saw them being the enemy forces. Okay, that works. That makes perfect sense.
And number 15, Shomte and Mine. Three kinds, three species.
Yep, 3 species, 3 varieties.
Oh.
Yeah, all correct. Excuse me, just now I had I had a monster howling at the door.
Open the door.
It's they're freedom loving creatures. So like the door is closed, that's a problem, right? It doesn't matter if they want to be in or if they want to be out. It's like they just want to be able to choose.
I have a quick
okay.
question.
Sure.
Can you explain the difference between he and mine?
Yeah. So a mina is type, and it like if you were to go car shopping, the different things that you look at would be minas, right? I don't know. I'm not going to name types of cars. You get like, it's like a Volkswagen, or I said I'm not going to name types of cars, and now I am. It's like a Ford and a Chevy and a Volkswagen and a Lamborghini or whatever, right? Those are minas. Types of things, varieties of nouns, right? Like you can be more specific. It is this type of noun. It is this noun, but it can be subdivided into these various subtypes. Those are minas. He is is more adverbial. It's like the manner of doing something. Like, do you drive your car quickly? Do you drive it recklessly? Or do you drive it cautiously? That's a he.
Could it also be like, you have the different types of cars, but what state are they in? Are they new? Are they broken? Are they old? Is that?
Yeah. I
Or
think
is it
that would,
also actually a type, really, if you think about it?
I think that's still a mina. Yeah, I feel like he specifically is more to do with like how something is done.
Okay.
Yeah, if they were being cared for in a lackadaisical sort of way, that would be a he. But if they were just all old and broken because they had been cared for in a lackadaisical sort of way, then that would be a mina, because it would be an old broken car. Yeah, that's a good question. Okay, Dante, do you want to take
Yeah.
5? You're supposed to get 5.
So is te sort of like he also, like ente en, in the manner of?
Yeah. Where are you seeing this?
Oh, I'm not seeing it. I'm just continuing what you were just talking about, the difference between mine and he, and then there's te also.
I
You mean this one?
As
he is just he with an
yeah,
R.
yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is literally this. They're just being lazy with the writing. So this is like in the manner.
Oh, okay. Got it. So uonimet hen to synagogue. So everyone who is in the synagogue, Panomos em Moses teref, like the whole law of Moses.
Yeah, this is a good example of when you want to use der to mean entire, as opposed to like every or all,
Right.
because it just depends on circumstance.
Soe en Soche, 6 fields.
Yeah, good. What's up with Soe? What's this
That's
Soe
the
thing?
female, feminine, because field is feminine, right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. The word soshi, or soche, I really like this word. This is the in my young adult fantasy novel, which I plug in my classes all the time. Soshi or is the name of the like paradisical afterlife that they're trying to get to, and I took it from this word because it's Sekhet Yaru in like older Egyptian texts, and so I had to come up with like a way to write it in English so that people with no knowledge of Egyptian could like read it, and I named it this. And like, I'm so proud of that name. Soshi Or is like the perfect fantasy setting name. It's so good. It's like, I don't know, at least I think it's so good, and I'm super proud of it. And it reminded me, so there we go. Anyway.
Temete en entole. So these 10 commandments.
Yeah.
Which I guess is what the whole law of Moses is, right?
Well, it's a small part of the whole law of Moses, but it is those ones. It's
yeah,
the
I guess.
stony tablet ones.
Nekora teru ente pe cosmos. So all the lands or regions of this cosmos or world.
Yeah, Kora is kind of a weird word because it's being used as you've used it to mean something like administrative regions or something, but it also means countryside or like rural area, and it can kind of mean both. So as you can imagine, the administration of Roman holdings involved a lot of areas that were not at all urbanized. So this is kind of the word that gets used for those. I think it might be, its nearest English equivalent might be something like county or parish or something, where it can, like in Texas, we use the word in the county to specifically mean not in any sort of urban area. Where if you throw a party, it's going to get busted up by the sheriff, not by the local PD, that kind of thing. So it kind of has both of those ideas in it.
Those, the Greek loan words, sometimes their meaning would slightly change in Egypt or something, in
Oh yeah,
Coptic. Yeah.
very much so. Their meaning would, you can normally see kind of a chain of connection between the way it's being used in Coptic texts and its original Greek meaning. But what often happens is a sort of specification, and it's the same thing that you see in French loan words in English. For instance, the word beef in English specifically refers to food, which is the flesh of a cow, which is not the case in the original French. It's much broader. Or the word chef, for example, in English is someone in a restaurant, right? Whereas chef in French could be the leader of any group of workmen. So yeah, you see the same thing. You often see this sort of specification where the Greek word is being used precisely because they need a word that is more exact than any of the words they have in Egyptian already. So yeah, I think Kora is one of those cases. Okay, thank you, Dante. Pat, do you want to do 5?
Yep. So 21. Ensashfe and rompe. 7 years, or in 7 years.
Yeah, good.
I had a question. What's that first then doing? Because I kind of like just ignored it.
Well, you translated it correctly, actually. You didn't ignore it at all. You said in 7 years. So
Well,
that's,
I put 7 years, but it's just because I think Christian said there was another example before 7 days. So
right.
that's why I put at the end, but so it's just a preposition.
I see 2 possible readings. One is as a preposition, and the second one is actually as the plural definite article.
I see.
The 7 years, although I think we would generally expect the singular article there, pe, so pesashve in rompe, the 7 years. But yeah, either way, article or preposition.
Okay, so 22. Enthein uchemcha lempistos, like a faithful slave or servant.
Yeah, good.
23. Anonteren, all of us.
Yeah, this is a great one. I'm glad you put this one in there. So it's very, very easy to get used to seeing teres and teref and teru, because that's how the word is used most often. But it can be used with other persons, like the first person common plural. So anonteren, all of us. That definitely does appear sometimes. I think Lambden just wants to make sure you realize that this word is allowed to connect to any of the suffixes. The one exception to that, or the place where it gets kind of fun, is you all or all of you in the plural gets really weird. I think in Saidic it will actually say terten, like with a T, the 10 ending that you're used to seeing for the second person plural. For whatever reason in Bohairic, they say teru. They say like in toten teru, like y'all, all of them, for all of y'all. I don't know why they do it that way. But all of this is to say that like ter does generally connect to the possessive suffix pronoun that you're used to seeing from other places, like the possessive article and the object pronouns of verbs and all those kind of things.
Oh yeah, Lambden does say that teru can be used for second person plural.
Oh, he says that.
Yeah, I just checked to make sure. He didn't mention anything, but he does. But I kind of forgot. And then 24, and Heket and Polisteru, all of the poor people of the city.
Yep.
And then 25, this one I got stuck on. Henlao Emma. I put in something of the place. I
Yeah.
have no idea what Henlao what meant.
It's like in some little place. So Lao Lao is just such a painful word to try to explain to people what it means, because it's one of these words it's used really casually in actual Coptic texts, to the point where it doesn't really stress you out when you see it, because it's just so clear from the context what it is. I could imagine, I don't know if this is a real Coptic sentence or not, but I could imagine a Coptic sentence that is like, Disoen an in Lao, like, I don't know a thing. Where it's Lao is like, does it mean nothing? Does it mean something, but a small something? It doesn't matter.
Doesn't it kind of nicely map onto the English word any? Because any, anyone could, be anyone, but if you add the negative, it means I didn't see anyone, I saw no one.
Yeah.
So kind of changes its meaning according to whether or not you use a positive or negative sentence. Same as Lao, I think, does the same thing. Like, men Lao and Loma and Pema, there is not a single person here. But then, which is, I think, the most common form I've seen it used in. But
I think this is a really solid observation, Christian, because I think we should. So I haven't ever thought of that before, so I can't immediately like vouch for it as being correct, but I think it feels very correct. So I think what we should do is let's just test it as we go through these. Let's put any in there and see if it continues to work. I think in this case, in any place, yeah, that works. And then even extending that further, I would say, so there's a usage of the English word some that is sort of hard to translate into any other language. The example I always use is this Vampire Weekend song. Vampire Weekend, it's called Ottoman. Yeah, Ottoman Couch is the name of the song, or Ottoman. He says, begging you to sit for a portrait on the wall, to hang in the dark of some parliamentary hall. And it's like, it's kind of a throwaway line, but this use of the word some, what does that mean? It's not some, it's not the usual sum. It's not the sum that means we have a set of things and we are selecting a subset of that set of things. It's some in a way that's almost kind of like derisive. It's like, it's like, oh, I was walking down the street and I saw some guy walking his dog. It's not like I saw a guy. If I said I saw a guy, I'm making no judgment about the guy. If I say I saw some guy, I'm like, I saw some asshole walking his dog. It's like a little bit kind of like, it's a little tiny bit derisive. It's like, not only was it an unknown entity, but I don't care to know the answer at the same time. So I think it might work like that, where Lao is like in some place.
I think we also have sentences like Anek Lao, like it means I am nothing, but I think really the sentiment is like, oh, I'm just some guy,
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just like some guy, It's like that. Yeah, Lao is fun. We should talk more about Lao, because it's one of these ones where it trips everybody up at first, but then once it kind of clicks, it's also like the nicest word ever, because Coptic has a word that lets you conveniently get out of saying anything controversial, right? Because you can just use Lao, and it's just like, it can be interpreted so many different ways that like nobody can pin you down to a specific meaning. My explanation that I often give students, which is so much worse than saying nothing, but I'm going to say it anyway, is that if you've done any calculus, Lao is epsilon. It is this, it is a quantity that is vanishingly small and becomes zero in the limit case. So if that helps you, cool. If that makes no sense, please try to forget that I said it. But that's Lao.
The physicist in me rejoices.
Oh, good. I'm so glad someone enjoys it. There's this story. There's so many stories about Paul Erdős, but one of the ones that I love is that he referred to children as epsilons, because he was just like such a socially awkward weirdo that he like didn't know how to interact with children, and he would just describe them as epsilons. And I think it's kind of cute, honestly. Anyway, okay, but if that explanation makes no sense, just freely ignore it. And that was Pat, right? Pat, I just asked you to read those 5. I think that was Pat.
Yep.
Okay, so we got GT. GT, do you want to do 5?
Sure. So 26, Shamun Nuk Choi, 8 large ships.
Yeah, good.
27, Oa Mo, one thing there or something there.
So it's not Imao. What you've said is not wrong, but I suspect that you're translating it this way, which is not what it says.
Okay.
It's Imao, which there's actually 2 totally different meanings for this. One of them is the Imao that is made from this thing, this pre-pronominal preposition, and then with the 3rd person plural suffix pronoun.
Hmm. So
It's the same one that we use as the direct object of verbs. It's basically, it's like N as the pre-nominal form, and then Imma, Immo, or Imuff, or whatever as the pre-pronominal form.
So is it like one of them?
One of them, yes. That is almost certainly what Lambden intended. I would argue that he has also written the way that we in modern English refer to one of these. I would argue that he has written a water. So, but they didn't really have bottled water in ancient Egypt. But if they had, I think this is the way they would have said it. Like, hey, can you get me a water? It would be Waimo. Both answers, I will accept both answers as correct.
28, Shache Nim and Tof Chol. What words did he say? Or no, did he? I wanted to translate it as a question because it has Nim, but it's not.
It is a question.
Oh, is
Oh,
it?
no, oh, no. Oh, it's not. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. It's not a question.
Mhm.
It's the other name.
Yeah, so it's any words that he said, or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's every word he said them, literally. Shajanim, Intafjo, every word which he said them, or it doesn't really work if you flip it around and make Shajay the subject of the relative clause, because it's like every word which it said them. I mean, words can say things, you know, that like we personify words in that way. So that is theoretically possible, but it doesn't make any sense to me. Definitely reminds me of that song that's like, every breath you take. It's like that. It's that sentence in Coptic form. Is that Sting who sings that song? It's got to be Sting. It's a pretty creepy song, actually, if you just read the lyrics. There's another way, which I'm going to put out there, even though I might risk confusing you. But when you were first trying to translate it as a question, it like locked it that way in my head too. And I managed to make it work that way. And it works if you put in a bunch of commas. So it's Shaje, Nim Intaf Joe. So like this thing, who said these? So you actually can make this the word who and make it into a sensible Coptic sentence, but clearly not what Lambden intended. But it like, once you translated it that way, and I like read the word Nim as the word who, I found a way to make it work, and it actually does, but just not that well. So every word which he said them, I think is the final answer. Are you okay with that, GT?
Maybe
final
every
answer.
word that he said, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. And then 29. Wash mine and shone. Of what sort is this sickness? Or what sort
So
of
very,
disease is this?
yeah, it's like 99.5% correct. There's no is though. You've made it more sensible. Wait. Yeah, no, your way is right. What sort of sickness? Yeah, what sort of sickness? I don't know if I just changed it from what you said to something different, but that's what it means. What sort of sickness?
Yeah, I was going directly from an example that Lambden has, I think, where he translates it with of what sort is this blank?
Yeah.
But that's
see.
not really like great English.
Yeah. And it's not what the Coptic says, and it's also not like it's kind of stilted English because that's not what we actually say when we're talking to each other. We don't say like, of what sort is this sickness? We say like, I'm sick. What kind of sick? This literally says what kind of sick, which is much more in line with how normal people talk to one another. Okay, and 30.
Shus now, or 2 shepherds.
2 shepherds. Yeah. I just realized that it is now 10 minutes left in class, and I've somehow managed to spend more than half the class doing only half the questions. Oh, why am I like this? Okay, so we're going to go through the rest. Aurelio, do you want to do 5?
If I get myself unmuted again, yes.
Yes.
Okay. Hijin lao in here. Upon any road.
Yeah, good.
Impefemto evo. Impefemto evo. Is there an L missing at the end, Alanda?
Yeah, there's an L missing.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, that doesn't make any
That sounds
sense at all.
better. Let's see. So in his presence.
Yeah, in his presence.
Mhm.
I'm just going to make a quick note to fix that when I put in the answers. Okay. Yeah.
Lao in carpus. Any fruit.
Any fruit, and yeah, and some fruit.
Or some
Maybe
fruit, yeah.
maybe no fruit. There might not be any fruit according
Sure.
to this sentence, but yeah.
To main. 4 signs.
4 signs. Yeah.
And then somewhat confusingly, a ash and she. To what measure?
Yeah. This is a confusing sentence because we just haven't seen anything constructed like this yet, but it is perfectly analyzable if we want to. So this is toward which of measure. So this is the normal Coptic way of saying like, how long is it or something like that. To what extent?
Got it.
Okay, good job, Aurelio. Christian, 5, lightning round.
Okay, Hentef Kura au Hentef Time. In his land or district, or the way it's translated, and in his village or town.
Yeah. Good.
Shmoon and Evot, that is for 8 months.
Yes. Good.
Unoch and Dashe, in a great joy or very joyfully.
Yeah, in a great joy.
And U Archiereus Poneros. Is that an evil archpriest or bishop?
Yeah, an evil high priest. Archpriest. Is archpriest a word in English? Archpriest?
High priest.
Sounds a bit odd, doesn't it?
Yeah, doesn't sound right to me. High priest, an evil high priest.
And then Nenshver Teru, all of our friends.
All of our friends. Yes. Interestingly, this comes from a word that means merchant. Historically, can't say too much about that because I spent all our time discussing other things. Oh, I do read things that you put in the suggestion box, and one of the things in the suggestion box was can we have longer than 1 hour? Because it always takes longer than 1 hour to do all the exercises. And the answer is yes and no. Yes, in the sense that I would happily sit here and do this all day. No, in the sense that we have another class immediately after this. So yeah, good suggestion though. Keep them coming. Okay, Claudio, would you like to do 5?
Okay. Number 1, Empika lau agente trapeza. I put nothing on the table.
Yeah, literally, I didn't put lau on the table, but your translation is correct. I put nothing on the table.
Number 2, when hoine en teimine hen polisnim. Some kind of city.
Yeah, let's break it apart. So hem polis nim is
Something inside the city.
yeah, inside, wait, hem polis in every city.
In every city.
And then do you remember hoine? That word hoine?
No, I found only some.
Yeah, it is like
But I'm
some. Yeah, it's the word some. That's correct. So hoine in teimine, what does that mean?
some of this kind. I couldn't put together.
Well, you just did it correctly. Some of this kind. So we have you know, there is a set of this kind. There is a there's a parking lot full of Citroens. I don't know. Like, I'm just gonna keep going with stupid car metaphors because that's what's in my head right now. And we're saying like there's some of that kind, that kind of car. Hoine in teimine, some of this kind, and then putting it all together when hoine in teimine. So there is some of this kind in every city. I don't know why I picked Citroen because I don't think there actually are Citroens in every city. I don't think we have those in the US, but whatever. You get the idea.
Okay, number 3.
Yeah.
Entacpine pekhap en ash en he. How did you find your revenge? But I'm not sure about.
This doesn't make any sense to me. Entacpine?
You've got a typo. I think is it pine or shine?
Oh, it's a typo. It's supposed to be chine. Okay, I was like, I don't. Peen means mouse. I was like, did you mouse the law? I thought maybe it was a slang I didn't know or something. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Sorry about that.
Do I have to read it again?
You don't have to read it all again, but what does it mean?
Oh, I found. How did you find your revenge?
Are you reading hop to mean like justice? Does he give revenge? Does Lambda give revenge for that word?
I couldn't find it in Lambdin, but sure, I
It's
think
in the glossary.
he gives it.
I wonder if you meant rat for money and just mistyped. Because I don't think hub was in the vocabulary yet.
I typed this one badly. This one's
No, it's in Lambda. It tripped me up too.
So hop
I
is
couldn't
something
find
like
it in Crumb.
hop is like law, norm, custom, and it can mean justice. So it can be used to mean justice specifically, which is where I was guessing that that revenge was coming from, because you know, we can have a philosophical discussion about the difference between justice and revenge, but obviously there is some some overlap and some gray area in between those two concepts, which is not what this class is about, but always interesting to get sort of philosophical about what words mean and how we comprehend them. In this case, I think it's like, you found this law. How did you find this law? In what manner did you find this law? Is literally the translation of it. Or your law, your justice.
Mhm.
I feel like that has things in it that we haven't talked about yet. It's also just kind of a weird sentence. You found your justice in what manner? Literally. Let's skip it.
Okay, number 4. Wash emine pepe shome. Of what sort is this book?
Good. Yeah.
And number 5. En ash en weish asmise em pescere. When did she give birth to her son?
Yeah, and Landon has intentionally made this a super weird sentence, because what you would normally just say is to now, when, but he's actually said, like, in what time did she give birth to her son? Which is like, no one would ever say that. It's a really weird way of just saying when. Why wouldn't you just say when? In what moment did she give birth to her son? Nobody talks like that. Not even in ancient Egypt. But okay, good job, Claudio. Sorry, you got the worst set of sentences in the whole homework. Dante, do you want to do 5 real quick?
Yeah. Ang nimanok, ang ulao. So who am I? I am nothing, or a nothing.
Yeah. Or
Does the
like
go ahead.
Odysseus, I am nobody.
Right. Empefti ulao nai. He did not give anything to me, or he gave me nothing.
Yeah.
Anka uonim and son. So we left everyone behind us.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we abandoned them. It's a
And
sad story.
lao ne no shachem poneron. So like these wicked sayings are some nothings, are nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what that means. In terms of how that makes sense, I feel like there are 2 separate questions here. There's the question of what literally does the Coptic mean? And it literally means some nothings are their evil sayings. And then in terms of what that actually communicates, I'm like saying that the evil things that these people say are worthless, just ignore them, right? There's some nothings.
Ua e sharof and taushe. So one or someone came to him in the night.
Yep, that's it. Okay. Good job, Dante. We're almost finished, and we're not that far over time, unless I go off chasing rabbits again, in which case we're going to be like way over time. But Pat, do you want to do 5?
Yep. So Astro men uwa and Nesungenes. She waited with one of her kinsmen.
Yes, very good. Yeah, exactly right.
12 et beu entareire enteige. Why did you do this in this manner?
Yeah, I don't see a do this. Et beu entarire enteihe.
Well, hold on. Oh, because I may have confused the meaning of Ada with something else.
No, I don't think so. I think you added in the word this to make it make
Oh,
sense
yeah.
in English.
Oh, then yeah, I added the this just because I didn't want to put why did you do in this manner. It felt weird.
Yeah, it's weird in English. It doesn't make sense, actually. You have to add something. One way of dealing with this is the way you just did, which I think is totally fine. I just wanted to make sure to call attention to it. Another way is to translate the word ire as act, A-C-T, act. So why did you act in this manner?
Yep, got it. Then 13 en uvovoish aparchiepiscopos epento. Once an archbishop came to his monastery.
Not his.
And oh, hold on. Our monastery.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
Change
This
it
is a
again.
good use of the word woish. Inu woish at one time. That's a much nicer use than this example we had earlier, where it was like, in what moment did she give birth to her son? Which is like, you would never say that, but you would say this, like inu woish, like at a time, you know, on an occasion this happened. Makes much more sense.
Then 14 Awene and Pepshit and Rome Ehun Erov. They brought 9 men inside to him.
Hmm.
Then 15 and Tauteno Emoi e Peilaos Teref. I was sent to all these people.
Yeah, why did you make it passive?
Well, because it could be they sent me, but
Yeah.
there's no, it just says they. Doesn't say.
What kind of verb is this?
I think that's the second perfect.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to translate it was them who sent me, but then I realized it could be made passive. So I just put it in passive.
Yeah, so it could be emphasizing like to this people specifically, as opposed to some other people, maybe. I'm not sure why it's a second tense, to be honest. If I saw this in a real Coptic text, I think I would start looking at the sentences around it to figure out why it's a second tense. But just given kind of the way we're given things here, where they're not connected to one another, I honestly don't have an answer as to why that's a second tense. It just is. Fine sentence. Just can't really answer that question with the information we have. Okay, good job, Pat. And last but certainly not least, we have GT with 5 left to go.
Okay, I was not able to do these in the homework, but I'll give a go at them.
You're gonna do them now. We're gonna do them together.
Okay, so the MP verb prefix. What does that mean?
It's I did not. It's the
Oh.
negative preterite.
Negative preterite. So I did not love anything in that place.
Yeah, whatever that means. That's what it says. I mean, Christian, your any still works. I did not love anything in that place.
Or anyone.
Or anyone. Yeah. Maybe you went to that place looking for love, and you know, you were looking in all the wrong places.
Yep. Okay. And then ahoine shone emate peoish, which is like someone was very sick at this time, something like that.
Yeah. Not someone. It's some, like more than one, actually.
Oh, so like some were very sick.
Yeah, some were very sick
It's
at
an
that
accurate
time.
description of right now, I suppose.
Yeah, it is, unfortunately. Yeah, it's just always there. Someday we're gonna go back and like watch all these videos from this time period, and we're gonna be like, man, people were such bummers then. And it's like, oh yeah, there was like a massive disaster happening in the background of every single freaking conversation for like years on end. Yeah, it sucked. Anyway, number 18.
Impefti Lau in Oiknan. He did not take any bread.
Very
And I don't know
close.
what the non is doing.
So take would be G, but we actually have T, which means give.
He did not give any bread.
He did
To
not give
them,
any bread.
or
And
no, to
non
us.
to us. Good, you got it. That's it.
19 Hinash in Woish Atin Po E Paima. So it's at what time did you reach to something? Paima.
Pema is, so ma means place and pema.
Oh. So at what time did y'all reach this place?
Yeah. What time did y'all get here?
Okay, and then Minlao, Nimaf Mao. There is nothing there. Or
Nemaf.
there is none of him there.
That's a good thought. So you're thinking of like emof.
Yeah.
This is the other one. This is where men changes into nema. So it's like with nemaf.
There is no one with him there.
That's it. Yep. There's no one with him there. He is all by himself.
Okay.
Okay. And then really quickly, quite fortunately in this case, there's like almost nothing in this chapter. So Lambden talks about imperatives, and then he mentions this really fun thing, which is that some imperatives have what is called the prothetic aleph or prothetic alpha in the case of Coptic, where there's like a little ah at the beginning of the imperative. So now means to see, and a now means look. Won means open. Awon is the imperative, open. He's conflating this. He says Ina has the prothetic alpha. That's actually not correct. This is actually regular. So I don't know why he makes it like that. And the same thing with ire. This is actually perfectly regular. Arit, do it is exactly what you would expect this to turn into in the imperative, following the normal rules of like Coptic phonology. Couple minor like little details. The verb d, give, has an irregular imperative ma. It's super old, like it's like that in Old Egyptian even. So ma can mean give and as an imperative, whereas d is the normal verb. It's probably this case of, oh man, one of my linguists tell me the name for this thing. Oh my gosh, I forgot the linguistic term. It's like a thing where it's like, it's actually two totally different lexemes, but they kind of divide up the labor. So they end up becoming kind of one. It's the same thing that happened to English with like go and went. There are actually two totally separate verbs, but then the went verb ended up taking on the role of all the past tense stuff, and the go took on the role of all the present tense stuff. So they kind of just became as though they were one verb, but they're really from two totally separate lexemes that just like divided the labor, which is why they're different. But that's what's happening here. So the imperative of D can be ma. It can also just be D. So, you know, that's fun. It can go either way. Easy for reading. And then the other weird case is the verb for to come, e. The imperative is amu to a singular masculine, ame to a woman, and ameiten, or even more excitingly, amoini to plural, which actually means let us go or let us come. But that's the imperative plural, amoini in Bohairic. And then you see it sometimes in other dialects too. So that's fun. Then he talks about these different forms, which we've already seen before. So like the prenominal, prepronominal form. All of these derivations are perfectly regular, and we can sit down and go through exactly how you get this from that using the well-established phonetic rules of the development of Coptic from older Egyptian. So that's fun. And then you have some vocabulary and some more exercises, and that's it. Any questions? Okay, I'm going to take your silence to mean either no or I have too many questions and we're out of time. So either way, you guys have a great week. We'll be back here next week, same time. We will also be back here in the next 5 minutes to do some Coptic dialects. If you want to come to that, come join us.
See you in a moment.
See you
Okay.
there.
Bye, everyone.